I just burned an American flag on the way here.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Hey guys, before we get started, I want to thank the sponsor of today's episode, BetterHelp. Whether you're somebody with a clinical mental health issue like anxiety or depression, or just someone trying to take it day by day in this big, scary world, BetterHelp can help provide you the tools to make a positive change in your life. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and accessible, because finding a therapist that's right for you can be difficult, especially when you're limited on options. But BetterHelp is able to provide a wider range of options so you can find the one that's right for you. You start by filling out an online questionnaire, and their site will match you up with a professional therapist that meets your needs and criteria. You can sign up and be matched with a therapist that's right for you in just a few days. If you want to try it for yourself, you can click the link down below or go to betterhelp.com/MaddyMorphosis and get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. And if you get connected to a therapist and find that they're not right for you, you can change therapists at no additional cost, and without having to worry about things such as insurance or if a certain therapist is in or out of your network. I grew up in a town with less than 2,000 people. I honestly don't know if my town even had a therapist. And if we did, it was probably the only one, so if that therapist wasn't right for you, then what do you do? And I lived in that town for most of my life, and it's probably where I experienced a lot of the lowest lows. Probably times where I should have talked to someone, whether it be for guidance or helping me process my emotions, or even just as a sounding board. But even if I was aware of that resource, I still don't know if that is something that would have been available to me. But with the people at BetterHelp, you can find someone to talk to no matter where you are in the world, so that you can get yourself on the path to mental wellness. So if you're struggling, consider BetterHelp and use the link down below, betterhelp.com/MaddyMorphosis. In addition, you'll get 10% off your first month. Thank you again to BetterHelp. And now, on to the video. Hi guys, welcome back to Give It To Me Straight, where the water is always cool and refreshing. Because on the show today, we have all the way from Season 6 and All Stars 8, Miss Darienne Lake.
Hi, how are you? I love your outfit. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought, like, what is the essence of Darienne Lake's drag, you know? And I thought Billie Eilish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, AOC loved it, so I, of course, saved that screenshot of her saying that she loved it. And everybody else, they were just like, I knew exactly who the fuck you were, and I don't care if it was too literal or whatever. And so I decided to sell some T-shirts inspired by it on my merchandise website. So.
Did you sell enough before you got a cease and desist from her team?
No, luckily I used my own logo, so it's like a D and an L
okay,
and
okay.
same upside down or right side up or whatever.
Yeah.
So I worked, and of course, you know, if you want to know, let everybody know you're on the DL. So
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I would have brought you one as a gift for letting me in your home, but I forgot. You know,
Like, I'll invoice you later.
baggage limits. I'm only platinum on Delta. I'm poor.
So it's hard sometimes. But
I knew I was gonna cry. Okay.
let it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said let it out.
With the Billie Eilish look that you did, though, like, who told you about Billie Eilish? Was it like a niece or a nephew or something? Like, how did you find out about her?
You know, I listen to a lot of music at the salon because I still cut hair and everything because I work a lot of jobs because nobody's going to take care of me when I get older. So I have to work as much as I can so I can retire someday. And so the music just comes on. I like to put on Sirius Hits 1 and just listen to it. And I was like, oh, I love that song. Who's that? And then they're like, Billie Eilish. And then, I watched like the awards ceremonies and go, what the hell is this? I don't know who they are. And I'm like, oh, I know her. I like that. And then, of course, Kelly Clarkson redid Happier Than Ever. And so I'm a huge Kelly Clarkson stan. So, stan, I learned that word too from the Eminem fans.
You're so hip.
Yeah, I'm so, yeah.
Yeah, I feel, though, like Billie Eilish is a little bit more recognizable as a brand than Kelly Clarkson. It's hard to do, like, a Kelly Clarkson runway.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
Billie Eilish, you're like, oh, that's an easy, recognizable look and comfortable and cheap. So, you know, just a T-shirt, some little pants.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a T-shirt, pants, couple of chains, all that kind of stuff or whatever. Yeah, I did have like, you know, a friend of mine design the logo, or well, I designed the logo, but then he like designed it onto the shirt and everything. So, you know, I wanted to look, you know. Some of the looks that I saw, I was like an old lady at Halloween. Who are you supposed to be? I had no idea.
I thought you had the most like contemporary of all of them, ironically enough. But
There you go. You know, and also, you know, I thought like Darienne Lake is known for like, hey, she's a sequin queen and all that stuff or whatever, and just always like sequins or whatever. I like sequins because they're plastic and the puke and booze just wash right off of them. And plus, they'll never biodegrade, so I want to be on this planet forever. And then, I just was sort of like, guess what? They'll never expect. They'll never expect me dressed as Billie Eilish,
Yeah. What, like watching like the runway and stuff and seeing you come out, I was like, it was so unexpected, and it was like simple,
Yeah,
but because it was like the unexpected factor and everything else, it's like it's almost like camp.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, I like this.
yeah, and
I like the cut of her jib.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Watching it with the audience and all that stuff during premiere, I came out and people just like cheered, like went crazy. And so then, of course, I was just like, little do you know, they're gonna fucking tear that apart.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought it was interesting that they would tear apart some of my looks and then just glaze over some of the obvious flaws of other people.
Yeah. I hate when that happens.
It happens, it's, sometimes they just, they don't catch it.
But you're in Vegas right now, and being someone who's named after an amusement park, have you rode the roller coaster yet?
I have not ridden the roller coaster here in Vegas. I have done it's like the London Eye, what do they call it? The Ferris wheel. I don't know what they call it. It's do they just call it the Ferris wheel? What do they call
I'm sure
it?
it's got a name. I don't know.
It's something.
I've been in Vegas for less than a year. There's so many attractions that have names. I'm like, what's the ball called?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Larry Edwards actually. We when I came out here, I think it was in 2014 when we were doing the premiere of season 6. We were doing the premiere party out here, and then I got to see all those things or whatever. And Larry Edwards was like, "Come on, I'll show you, and we'll do the Ferris wheel." I was like, "I'm scared of heights." She's like, "Oh, is that why you wear low shoes?" I was like, "No, it's because I'm crippled and I don't have the ankle mobility." But no, so we did that.
Are you actually scared of heights?
I am afraid of heights. Yeah, I'm afraid of heights where like I'm gonna fall and injure myself like really badly. If I'm up high enough where I'm gonna die, then I'm kind of like into it. Whenever I go to like Niagara Falls and stuff, I get the call of the void. That's sort of like jump. That how you get that like when you're driving in the car and you're just like, and you want to the call of the void.
There's a French word for it. I can't remember what it is.
French people give me the crepes.
This is gonna be the whole interview. It just zingers.
Sorry, I apologize. I've been hanging out with Kasha too much. She loves a dad joke.
But like I said, you were named after an amusement park, Darienne Lake, and
well, it's between Rochester and Buffalo, New York. I'm named after an amusement park because most guys that ride me vomit. And when I was first painted up, I looked like Ricki Lake from the movie Hairspray, and so they thought like, "Oh, be Tracy Turnblad," and I thought that was like I'd never seen the movie, so I was like, "That's a horrible name." Like, be Ricki Lake, and I didn't want to be somebody else. So like, be Darienne Lake, 2 tons of fun, twisted steel and sex appeal. And I was like, you got it. I was going to be an eyeshadow color like Mauve Sunset, Dusty Rose, or Heather Sky. And so that did not stick. I would call them like, can you put me in drag again? They're like, hey, Darienne Lake. I was like, my name's Heather Sky. So so then it just stuck, just the whole Darienne Lake thing. And I spelled the name a little bit differently. Darienne, I added an extra N-E.
If there's one thing you're good at, it's avoiding a cease and desist.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
Completely, yeah. And also avoiding anybody spelling my name correctly. So
we stand a queen that checks the trademark registry before she does anything.
you got to do these things.
Yeah.
If I could go back in time, I probably would have picked First Pet, First Street, which would have been Pixie Peters. Easy to spell, but then people would be like, is it Pixy? No. Oh my God.
With your name being Darienne Lake, is there a certain ride at Darienne Lake that resonates with you, like personally?
Yeah, the mind eraser.
Oh.
Yeah, because most guys who ride me just want to forget about it. Yeah.
I was gonna say you give me more hoot and holler.
Hoot and holler, yeah.
Or moose on the loose.
Oh, yeah. Woo!
But that amusement park, they actually had an incident in the 90s where...
Did, off the Superman.
Yeah, some guy, he was riding the ride and they couldn't get the bar down, so they just let the ride go and he got flung off from it and he like sued them, had to go to the hospital, but you were looking
that was
okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's where you got your fear of heights, right?
I did. And I just like went clink, 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 clink down like Plinko on the Price is Right. Oh, Bob Barker. And so, yeah, I just down the metal things. But there was a guy who actually died because he was on the ride and he was strapped in and all that stuff or whatever. Unfortunately, he did not have legs because he was over like he fought in the war and stuff. I don't know which one. And
It's the same ride though, right?
Same ride, Superman ride. And so I guess when it went over the first hill, he just and died. But I guess his family was like, he died doing what he loved. Falling from a height. I don't know. It's just, I feel horrible. But you gotta go.
So, but outside of going to Darien Lake and Speedy Fest and watching exploitative talk shows, what else is there for a child to do in Rochester?
Leave. And so actually there's not a lot going on, so it helps us be creative, I think, in a way, and that lends to it. Also a lot of, skiing and snowboarding and all that kind of stuff.
Like
that I
on the
don't have to-
mountain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The mountains, the hills of the Adirondacks or whatever.
Not the other
Yeah.
kind of skiing.
Yeah. And usually around like the Halloween time and Thanksgiving, we pumpkin.
We're moving on. Cut that one. Actually, no, put a silence in.
Cricket.
Like, I will let you speak what you need to say, but I will not indulge you if it goes too far.
Thank you. Yeah.
At what point, getting into the more serious topics now,
Okay. Yes.
at what point did you start to realize, like, your sexuality?
I think I was like, I was around like 18 and I started going to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I always questioned what it was because I was always like a fat kid growing up. And I was like, am I looking at those guys with those beautiful chiseled bodies because I'm going to look like that or because I want that in my mouth?
Yeah.
And we used to go and see it with this one friend of ours who I was just like, oh my God, he's so cute. So he had great, like his biceps were like little baseballs and stuff. And then one day we were out on his boat out on Canisius Lake, and he pulled his out, and then I was like, yep. I was like, like any other kid who first has sex, like shaking and freaking out and like, oh my God, this is totally what I want. I was 18 years old, and so I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And it probably gave him the worst ever because you know how you can't put your hand totally around a soda can. It was fat.
Oh, for your first one?
Yeah, my first one. Yeah, I
Did you
know.
set the bar too high for like everyone past that?
I think probably. Yeah.
Are you still looking for that beer can?
No, because as long as they have a beautiful mouth and a nice, we're in business.
Oh,
So
because you're in your top era now.
I'm in my top era. I tried to do the whole put things in my butt, but
Yeah.
it just hurts so much.
Darien, not derriere.
Oh, I know. My butt goes. No. Yeah. Ouch. I don't know. I can't do it. And my friends were like, try poppers. And so I did. And they were filled with cream cheese instead of like the cheddar ones. Like jalapeno poppers should have like the cheddar cheese in them. But anyway, so that didn't work.
Anything but goat cheese, right?
Ugh. Ugh. Nothing should taste like the animal smells. Goat cheese is ugh.
That's like one of like your least favorite things in the world, right? Is the goat
Yeah,
cheese,
how do you know that?
mushrooms,
Wow. Yes.
and
Goat
Kit
cheese.
Kats.
Mushrooms are slimy and gross, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, leaving the topic of food, back to the topic about
Ugh.
like your identity and
Yeah.
sexuality.
I know.
At one point, you even like thought that you might have been trans. What was it that happened in your life that made you think that you might be, and what was the realization that you weren't?
So when I was like coming out and all that stuff and started doing drag, like I never got any attention as a chubby boy out in the clubs and stuff. And I heard that there were like people who were into that, but they were never knocking down my door, and there was no internet back then. And so I didn't really know that. And so when I started doing drag, I was getting a lot of attention from men. And I was like, wow, this is great. Oh, wow, maybe I should be a woman. I should probably be a woman because I look better this way. And one of my great sort of drag mothers was Tuesday Night. I had like many drag mothers. And so she's trans. And she was like, do you feel like you were a girl your whole entire life? I'm like, no, but I feel like I look better as one. And she's like, so then you're not trans. Like if you grew up thinking like I am a girl my whole entire life, so basically she sort of like let me come to this realization for myself, like who I am and my gender identity and all that kind of stuff or whatever. And so I don't know, I'm probably somewhere in the spectrum of whatever it is, but I'm one of those old people who sort of like, man, I don't care, whatever I am, whatever you want to call me, I don't care. I have a full beard and are you ladies okay? I'm like, yeah, we're fine. Like, I don't care, nothing. When you get attacked so much with words growing up, words now or labels don't affect me. So if someone's like, oh, by the way, you probably are, gender fluid or gender queer or non-binary or whatever it is, or maybe you, are. Okay, whatever.
So you're past the point in your life of compartmentalizing and trying to categorize everything.
Exactly. Whatever, however you want to identify to, I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm I don't give a shit.
Yeah, they're like, so you're a man, a woman? You're like, I'm a top. That's,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. You know,
Yeah, like I am but a vessel.
I am but a vessel.
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
And
You
I
want to
think,
call me daddy? Call me daddy. You want to call me mommy? Call me mommy. You know, I don't care. Whatever. Just let me know and tell me what your safe word is.
but regarding like your sexuality, your mom wasn't the most supportive of it, much less your drag.
Yeah,
Um,
that's an understatement.
yeah. And yesterday was actually 33 years to the day that your mom found your duffel bag.
Oh, I know. Oh my God. Yeah, and she freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, for the people that don't know, what is that? Give us a rundown of that story of that night.
So yeah, she found I came home, and she found my duffel bag of drag where I was hiding all my drag and stuff and keeping my little safe. And I came home and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was like, and she's like, "I'm not paying money for some get to live in my house and drive a car and go to school. And why are you dressing like a lady? Like, are you going into like ladies' bathrooms and stuff and people?" I'm like, "No, where does your mind go? No, I'm dressing like a lady, like, like Tootsie, like to entertain people and have fun." And she's like, "This is sick. This is disgusting." Like, she basically, that was the day she invited me to leave the house. It was very intense and it was very horrible. And she was like, "This is sick. This is disgusting. This is against God. This is against nature," and all that stuff or whatever. And so I was like, "Okay, cool, awesome, fun." So I actually left that day, and I really was like, I was like in such a dark place, because I was like, I'm a fat, undesirable, gay kid with nothing now, like, whatever. And I was like, what do I have to live for? Like, nothing. Like, that was like, I contemplated suicide and all that stuff or whatever, or ending my life or unaliving myself. And I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to live like that. I didn't want to be who I was. And I was just completely lost. And luckily, I had the drag family and the drag people who were like, "It's okay, baby. You can stay on my couch, and all that stuff, whatever. Just don't touch on anything." And eventually, it sort of healed itself, where she's like, "I didn't mean that you had to leave." And I was like, "Well, it kind of sounded like that." She's like, "It's, I just don't want any of that in my house," and all that stuff or whatever. So, yeah, not fun.
I was going to ask, at what point did she, 'cause I know you patched up your relationship somewhat. Like, at what point did she start to kind of come around and accept you more for like who you were?
It took a long, long time, and eventually it got to a point where it was very like, don't ask, don't tell. Like, don't tell me about your life. I'm not going to ask about it, all that stuff. And so it wasn't until after season 6 they wanted to get my mother to like talk about it on camera, and she's like, "No, absolutely not. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be part of it." And then my brother-in-law, who's a filmmaker, he was like, I want to bring a camera and I want to interview you." And she's like, "No, absolutely not." He's like, "Nobody will see it. No one will see the light of day. But if you feel comfortable, we will show it." And so that's what they used for the reunion and stuff. And my sister, well, I have two sisters, and they were both very involved in educating my mother, saying that, like, "I don't know if you noticed, but whenever there's any kind of family function, he's always in the corner and by himself because he doesn't feel included in the family things. When you talk to him, you're like, 'Oh, how's the salon? How's the house? How's your car?' It's like asking about things in his life. Like, if he talked to you and was like, 'Oh, how's your dress? How's your shoes?' Like, that's not about who he is. So you are making him feel unwelcome in the family by not giving a shit about him. You might as well talk to a stranger. You're more intimate and want to know more about a stranger's life." And so she was like, "Okay, I get that." And my mom, being a very Catholic kind of person, there was a lot of her values that she had as a Catholic that she was tested on. My youngest sister had a bastard child. They used to call it that, but had a child out of wedlock. My other sister, she got divorced, which again was against the church and stuff. And so it was like, she thought like, oh, God gives me these like 5 children that I have to raise as good Catholic kids as well, good Christians, whatever. Um, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make them good people. But then she realized, no, God gave her these children to challenge her beliefs and her morals and what it means to love a child unconditionally. So, it eventually, she was like, huh, okay. And like, now it makes sense to her. So now she's involved, and now she will ask. She's like, "Oh, so you're touring? You're doing this? Oh, that's great," and all that stuff. She did ask me about like, "Oh, is anybody in your life?" And I'm like, "No, like you ruined that for me." You know, not because it's because like I'm one of 5 kids and I was the middle of 5, so I like my own privacy and I like all that stuff or whatever. And I don't have that Disney ideal that I need to be completed with a person, a partner or something or whatever. I like the idea of companions and people that come into our lives as like soulmates. Like I feel like our friends are our soulmates, and I always said like boys should be like side dishes, you know. You have your friends, your soulmates, your core in your life, but boys are side dishes. You know, sometimes you want some mashed potatoes, some stuffing, or a little couscous.
Yeah, but never mushrooms again.
Ugh, no mushrooms.
No
Ew,
mushrooms.
slimy, gross. Ew.
So you talked about your mother and your relationship with your mother in links and like other interviews.
Yeah.
But what was your relationship like with your dad? Where was your dad when all this was happening?
While this whole thing was happening, that we were actually having like a dinner conversation, and my dad was like, "You want to know what I think about it?" And my dad was like a mechanic and like very like man's man, all that stuff. And I was like, "Oh." He's like, "You want to know what I think about it? Not my. I don't care what you do with it. You know, I just think you're probably gonna get AIDS, because it was the early '90s and everything was AIDS. Like you could die in a plane crash, and people were like, "Was it AIDS related?" It's like, no, it was a plane crash. It's like, oh, did he die of AIDS on the plane first? Because like everybody thought like, oh, you shared a glass with him, you could probably catch AIDS, or oh, you got bit by a mosquito and it probably could have bit AIDS person. Like, and like people were very uneducated back then, and especially my parents, because I mean they're still kind of uneducated in many ways.
It's not as bad as like the
But that's
late
why they
80s,
live in
early 90s.
Florida.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh well, that works out there.
Yeah. So yeah, my dad was like, oh, I don't care what you do with it and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not going to catch HIV because I don't do risky things, especially that was early in my sexual career. I was like, because I don't, at the time I was a side, I was like, I don't do anal. Like, and my mother's like, well, what else is there? And I was like, well, there's, oral and frottage and stuff. And she's like, oral, like in your mouth? Oh my God, that's sodomy. It says right there, the Bible. Like, oh, I love your father, but I could never. And I was like, you've never sucked dad's. And my sisters are like, and she's like, no, oh my God, sodomy. I was like, you're Catholic. I thought girls who are Catholic, they suck so they don't get pregnant.
It's like their idea of foreplay is pushing the beds together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know at one point, like when you were 10, you had an incident where you had an argument with your father and you actually tried to overdose on Flintstone vitamins.
Oh my God, yeah. I was being very dramatic. I was a very dramatic child. Yeah, it was the strangest thing. It was like, yeah, he worked very hard, all that stuff or whatever, and he definitely had a temper. And there was a moment, and my sister remembers it very well as well, that there was hair in my food, and I pulled it out, and I was like, ugh. And just the face just set my dad off. He flipped the kitchen table and like smacked the shit out of me, and like to the point like bruising me. Like it was full on like abuse. And so then, of course, I went running off screaming, locked myself in the bathroom. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to end my life. And I just grabbed a handful of pills, which were Flintstone vitamins. I tried to kill myself with 2 Barneys and a Wilma. I'm like, oh. And so that didn't work. But, I was so.
But like there was a long period of time where you didn't really have any contact with your father, and it was actually on 9/11 that you first had your first real conversation with your dad after many years.
Yeah.
Because you had an uncle that worked in the World Trade Center.
Yeah. My Uncle Tony, and then my cousin Joey as well. And my Uncle Tony worked in the World Trade Center, and he was there when it got bombed early in the 90s and stuff. And so he was there for that. And then when the first tower was hit, I believe he was in the first tower that was hit, and he knew like right away, get out, going down the thing. And so I think the stories that I've heard that he had, definitely the PTSD of like seeing people and all that stuff or whatever, and also the seeing the firefighters going up the stairs, all those stairs or whatever, with all their equipment on, and it was probably the last time they were ever going to be seen. And he got out, he was fine, but the thing was like the day started like I normally do. I start making coffee and watching like Regis and Kelly, and or the Today Show and stuff, and that wasn't on yet. And they interrupted it because of the whole World Trade Center thing. The first tower was hit, and so I called my mom, but my dad answered the phone, and I was like, "Does Uncle Tony still work in the World Trade Center?" He's like, "Yeah, I think so." I'm like, "Because it's on fire right now, and I don't know if a plane hit it or something." He's like, "Well, I'm going to call your grandmother, see if I can get a hold of." And so she wasn't able to get a hold of him, and they weren't able to get a hold of him. So then I called back, and I was talking to him, and that's when the second plane hit. And I thought like maybe it was like a air traffic controller mistake, but he's like, "That is no mistake. That was intentional." And so I was like, "They're just going to fall down, like."
Like in that moment, did you assume that your uncle was in the building?
I think a lot of stuff, like I react to a lot of things of sort of the shock and disbelief. Like I don't really realize that things have happened. And I'm like, is this really real? Is this real life? Like, so I'll worry about it later, I guess. I'll cry about it tomorrow or whatever. I guess that also is part of the way I was brought up. With 5 kids, when we'd cry, my mother would be like, "I don't want to hear it. Go fight your own battles." Very that.
Reeling it back in a little bit to like your origin story, your first time in drag, take us back to that night whenever this little girl was born.
Oh my Lord,
Reel
have
it back
mercy.
in.
Isn't she so
Little
beautiful?
Tracy Turnblad.
A little Tracy Turnblad. And one of the drag mothers was a hag or fruit fly, however you want to call her. Gloria, big girl. She worked at the door. And she always called me Pond. Hey, Pond. Pond. Like Darienne Lake, Pond.
Oh, okay.
She called me Pond. Hey,
Is that
Pond.
like the cream?
Pond's cream, yes. And so she was like, "You are not leaving the house without fingernails on, without eyelashes on, without pantyhose, just like all of it." She made sure that like you're not fully in drag unless you're wearing all those things. She was very old school drag. So yeah, wow. Isn't she stunning? She's so pretty. And I still have that dress at home, believe it or not. And it's still very vibrant and pretty.
You stoned it, or is it still just the fabric?
It's just the fabric. No, I just, sometimes you just like a nice fancy print.
On your drag journey, at what point did you meet Pandora Boxx?
Oh, yeah. So I'm surprised you don't have that photo. And so I started doing drag, and I was a big, huge hit. She was a local star. And so then we were asked to perform at the Park Avenue Festival, which is it's like a block party. And so we were out on the porch, and I was performing. And I had met Pandora at the clubs beforehand. I was the coat check girl. And so they're like, "Oh, this is Darienne Lake." And she's like, "Why are they calling her an amusement park?" And then she saw me up on a porch performing, and they're like, "Oh, there's Darienne Lake." She's like, "Oh, that's who that is. Okay, now I get it. Now it makes sense." So yeah. Pandora saw me and then was like, "Wow, that's so inspiring. If she can look like that, imagine what I can look like." So then,
So you inspired her to do drag?
I did.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's your fault.
It really is. And the funny thing is, her and this other
You
friend.
opened Pandora's box.
I really did. Yeah.
Have you ever actually opened Pandora's box with you being a topic?
Barf. No. She actually used to hang out with this other friend of hers, and the other friend of hers reminded me a lot of like a little mini-me. Yeah, so me and this other drag queen, Heather Skye, were going to put Pandora Boxx and this Veronica Lake into drag. So I got little Veronica, and I painted her just like me, and then Heather was a little bitter that Pandora was sleeping with with Heather's ex-boyfriend. Pandora was sleeping with Heather's ex-boyfriend. So Heather painted Pandora to look like...
And she never changed her makeup.
It was... Ooh. Put black curly hair on her, and just like... Pandora has very large, like beautiful eyes, and she just sort of circled them with like black eyeliner. It's just... I came into the room... Oh my God. Hideous. Oh. Yeah, I came into the room and I went... oh my God. She's like, is it bad? I'm like, ooh, we can fix it. So I turned the lights down and like repainted her face and stuff. I'm like, okay, now like tilt your head back and like look and like squint your eyes and so then I
It's like an
fixed her.
old house, like just some spackle. Fix it
Oh,
right up.
that old house needed a lot more than just spackle. It needed a whole overhaul. Honey, Chip and Joanna Gaines need to fucking like that's a fixture upper. And so so then I started painting her face and everything, and I did that for like 2 years, and then I was like, all right, you got to do it yourself.
Little did you know, like whenever y'all met there, y'all had no idea that you would someday become the international drag superstars you are,
Yeah.
national syndicated television. But Drag Race actually wasn't your first time on television. There was a
No.
couple times before that. We'll kind of like work our way backwards.
Yeah.
There was a time in 2007, there was
Hmm.
a short docuseries episode on VH1
Yeah.
called Boys Will Be Girls,
Hmm.
which is kind of like a little timeline about like drag, what you guys do, what you go through. How did you guys land that gig?
It was weird because I guess they reached out to Pandora and they said that they were traveling up the Eastern Seaboard and like looking for people to document about drag, and they met us and we charmed the fuck out of them. And like our whole drag community in Rochester, since Rochester's a small city, we all work together, and so we all help each other in a way of like just being one big happy drag family, and so there's not that competition of like, oh, she's over at this bar and she's over at this bar. It's like we all sort of work together. And so then we just, worked well together. And then the producers saw how well we worked together and how fun and exciting we are and how silly and how Pandora and I at the time were sort of like the Lucy and Ethel of like Rochester. We were crazy, insane, and wacky and did some questionably illegal things. So yeah, so we had a great time doing that when we were young and being stupid and silly and feeling like the world owed us because being sort of kicked out at a young age, we were like, well, the world owes us, so we can be like little hellions, and we were watching divine movies and be like, yeah, we're fucking badasses, shit kickers.
Like committing arson, you're like, it's because of my mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know about the arson?
Huh?
What?
What kind of illegal stuff? Like other than like the obvious,
I
like
mean,
the
there was a. I'm not going to talk about it. I'll wait till you have her on the show. Uh, but yeah, so you can ask Pandora all about that. She won't admit it though. So but yeah, no. So we did crazy things or whatever. So yeah.
You had some experience filming a show like that together with Pandora because there was another time, 20
Mhm.
years prior to that, 1997, you were on the Ricki Lake
Oh, I
show.
know. I still have the T-shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 1997. It was an episode titled "My Friend Is Too Fat to Be a Drag Queen."
Yes.
I was 3 at the time, but what was that? What was
Okay.
that experience like?
Thanks. Rub it in.
Just I'm trying to give people like a time frame, just
Oh,
a
okay. Yeah, yeah,
reference.
yeah. Of
Yeah,
course. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But the Ricki Lake show, what was that experience like? Your first big TV break,
Yeah.
and it was a show of your namesake. Obviously, you're a huge Ricki Lake
Yeah,
fan.
yeah.
Like, what was it like getting cast for? Like, first of all, how did you get cast for that?
The funny thing is like, so they were like, hey, do you know anybody? Blah, blah, blah. They would always do that at the end of the show. Like, hey, do you know anybody who's got, 15 fathers and stuff? And you'd be perfect for the show. And so Pandora and her boyfriend at the time, they weren't working. They were just doing drag. And I actually was doing many a jobs to put myself through school. And so I was at my telemarketing job. And so she calls me on the phone. She's like, hey, so they, okay, don't be mad. But, and I don't think this about you, but they're doing a topic on the Ricki Lake show saying, get a grip doll, you're too fat to be a drag queen. And you know I love you, but I think, and I was like, oh my God, we can totally be famous. This is awesome. Yeah, sign me up. Let's do it. Like, have them call me. And so we were like famous at like the Olive Garden for like a month or two. But it was great. I was so excited. And so then the producers called me and I charmed the shit out of them over the phone. And so, yeah, I was like, operator, get me number 9. So I talked to the people and they were like, "Oh, this is great, and we really want to build up the animosity and stuff." And I was like, "You mean like it's not real? Like?" And they're like, "Yeah, we just want to, keep you guys separate and all that stuff or whatever. And you're gonna be like really mad at her, and she's gonna be mad at you, and you just amp up the drama and stuff." And I'm like, "I can do that." So it was great, and we had this great opportunity. They flew us down, and I was like, "Ooh, this is so amazing!" And then I got to meet some amazing queens. Dina Cass, that's when I first met her, and this was before the internet and stuff. So it was so hard to like keep in touch with people. And JC Adams, who was on the show, and there was another, my, I don't know, I remember a lot of shit, but I forget a lot of shit too. So
That whole episode is on YouTube.
it really is, and I think it's subtitled in some other language.
Yeah, it's like Finnish or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
But with the focal point of the episode being about like your weight and the struggles like
Yeah,
of being like a plus size person,
yeah.
weight was something you struggled with most of your life.
The entire life. I still struggle with it every day. Are you kidding me?
At what point did you start to feel the struggles of that? Like at what age did it really start to like hit you?
I think really in high school and stuff, it started to hit me of my weight being an issue and all that stuff, and trying things, and like my mom putting me on the Richard Simmons Deal a Meal or Weight Watchers or any of those sort of things, and also like with the whole being gay and coming out and having these feelings and trying to hide myself, and like so in a way like the food was like hiding, like why is little Gregory not being asked out by girls? Well, it's because he's fat and whatever, and what I thought I was. And so it was a good way to guard myself. Or it's like boys didn't pick on me for being gay, they picked on me for being fat. So I was like, ooh, it's a safety. It's like, it's cool. I'm okay. Like they're like, hey, fatty. I'm like, okay, cool. As long as you're hitting the outside, you're not hitting the inside, the gooey center. So I'm like, I'm good. I don't have to worry about that. And so, that. And then also, I'm left-handed, and the desks were like right-handed. So you try and like get in there, and like it's like when you're trying to sit in like a coach seat, and like the tray is there, and you're like, I'm trying to write this way, and so I knew that in high school with just all these things or whatever, that like I'm different. Like when we had to wrestle in school and stuff, when we had to wrestle in gym class, and they were like, okay, you're going to line up by weight class. So it was like little twink, little twink, little twink, me and the coach. And I had to wrestle him because I was the only, I still had 20 pounds on him. But yeah. And I remember when he pinned me to the mat, he's like, I won. I was like, I think we both won, sir. I think we both won. There I am with a little chub in my fucking sweatpants at, 13 years old, but at 280 pounds. It was good times.
But how did your weight affect like your dating life? Because it's one thing to be
There was no dating life, like because I didn't find myself attractive, so there's no way I could find somebody else attractive in that way. And I balanced my self-worth on how I looked on the outside. You know how they say like you can't love yourself or you can't love somebody else until you love yourself. And I'm like, well, I can't love myself because I don't like myself. Like I don't like the way I look. But then I learned like eventually that loving yourself is loving who you are as a person, not on like your physical outside, because nobody is 100% happy with how they look on the outside. They always want to improve something or whatever it is, so nobody's happy. Some people look amazing, but again, there's even amazing people who, go through their lives completely unhappy because they don't see how wonderful and how beautiful they are. And the problem too is you take pictures of yourself and you look at pictures and you're like, ugh. But you have to remember, if you look at a sunset and you take a picture of it, that picture of that sunset is not as pretty as the real thing. Mm-hmm. So when you look at a picture of yourself, remember, that is not as pretty as the real thing. So when you meet me in person, you're like, God, Darren, you really are stunning. Mm-hmm. And I hit him again with my stun gun.
Yeah. But even like outside of high school, like whenever you like did experience dating and meeting people, what do you think had more of a negative effect on your relationships or finding partners? We think is more due to your weight or the fact that you look like a butch lesbian?
Oh my God, Rosie O'Donnell, what is she doing here? Oh, I know. And the great thing too is about the people always ask me like, "Ooh, how do you get your eyebrows so snatched and everything?" I'm like, because I had a lot of real estate to work with. I just, I had a lot of trees to. Bambi and Thumper had to find a new home after I took those. And but yeah, that soft and supple little chub. I mean, if I could go back in time, let me tell you, I probably would have.
Funny enough, I would have found these are about the same time. These are both the early '90s. So
they really are. Yeah. Same amount of lipstick and makeup. So yeah, and look at that hairline, gorgeous, beautiful.
But with your weight, there was a point where you decided you wanted to do something about it. It was around the time of like the craze, like the Atkins diet.
Oh yeah.
And you had lost up to like 140 pounds.
Yeah.
Only to put the weight back on.
And then some. Holy crap! Yeah.
So what happened? Like what made you decide that like I need to make this change, and what made you decide, okay, I'm going back?
So many failed attempts, of so many different things, and so it just kept happening and stuff, and then I remember doing the Haters Roast in 2019 and just feeling just like we were touring and all that stuff or whatever. And when I had to climb the stairs with suitcases, thank God, like Mary Kirk was there to help us with suitcases. Just don't worry about it. Like, and I got to that point where like, if I dropped a pen, people were like, oh, let me get that for you. Cause they knew like, just I was becoming disabled in so many different ways and not able to do a lot of things and feeling the pressure and the pain on my joints and stuff. And so getting off the tour, there was a picture that me and Ben de la Creme took together, and people attacked me in the photo because of my appearance. And Ben de la Creme, being the wonderful person she is, of course, stuck up for me and all that stuff and was like, how not cool this is, and you don't understand what people are going through, and I looked at that picture and I was like, okay, this is it, this is time to change it and stuff, and I don't know what it was back around the turn of the century when I got into the Atkins craze where it just snapped. Like, I don't know what it is that makes people snap. Like, I don't know what it is. There's no like rock bottom moment or whatever that did it for me back then when I first started doing that. The first time I lost weight. And then this time, it really was maybe looking at the picture or maybe feeling the pain. There was some days where I'd wake up in the morning and I would like hold on to the furniture like, oh, I got to get my bones like working first. And my brain sometimes is still there, but my body was definitely shot. And I thought like, this is sort of the end. And so I'm going to, do something about it, whether it's, lose weight, talk to the doctors, or talk to my, financial planners, Smith and Wesson, and just fucking blow my brains out, And so, because you sit there and you think like, okay, what do I have to live for, And then you realize like I do have stuff to live for, and there is a way out. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is something out there for you. There is somebody who's reaching out to you, and telling you like you can do this. Because like I can do this, you can do this. Somebody else can do this, you can do this. Like, I had a friend who was on the verge of like dying of liver failure. He came in for a haircut. His eyes were yellow. When they say jaundice and yellow, like got to be glued hairspray, yellow. And I'm like, why are you here? You should be, at the hospital. He's like, well, I wanted to not cancel on you and get a haircut. And I thought, this is the one you're going to wear in your coffin, And then I thought about that, applying it to my own self. So I don't know, it just sort of snapped and then just sort of started to work. And, I still struggle. I still, have those moments where, I go into the convenience. My mother never loved cooking. So I got the addiction for convenience foods or whatever. And when you're busy and traveling and doing whatever, you don't have time, or you make excuses for not having time because you've wasted the day watching YouTube videos, boring YouTube videos.
Yeah. Not high quality ones.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, and so that's, I still struggle and all that stuff or whatever. I have those moments and then I have to remind myself like, no, okay. Like,
but whenever you had like lost all that weight and then like packed it, what caused you to like pack the weight back on?
I think it's because like that was also struggling with who I was. It was right around 2004. I had bought my house and all my friends had paired up and I was there left alone with nothing. I had a house, but I was by myself and I was like, okay, I have nothing. I have nobody. I also thought like, oh, well, maybe if I lose weight, I could find a guy and stuff and then I'll be desirable and stuff. But then I didn't realize like the loving yourself part has to come in there too. And so then I just went back into old habits, old habits are hard to break and you go into that mental space and then you put on a little weight and then you don't want to be seen because you put a little weight on. So then you keep pushing yourself further and further away. And right around that time as well, one of my sort of drag mothers, Naomi Kane, had passed away, and same with Brent, aka Heather Sky, had passed away. And I saw the same pattern in my friends that were dying that I was doing, pulling myself away. Like they were getting sick. Naomi had cancer and she was getting sicker and she was not going out anymore and she was pulling herself away. And Heather Sky also, she wasn't doing really well. She was getting really sick and stuff. And so then I would call her, be like, "Hey, girl, am I coming over to watch Survivor and hang out?" And no, and I've Matt and the kids and whatever, and it was always excuses. And so she was pulling herself away, and then I noticed I was pulling myself away as well. I didn't want to perform anymore, and I wasn't excited about that. And Pandora got on Drag Race, and that wasn't a dream for me, so I didn't even audition for season, like 3 or whatever. And then I threw in an audition for season 4, and then for 5, and I got traction on the season 5 audition, and then I got on season 6. So yeah,
But with all the like the lowest moments that you had,
yeah.
were any of those as bad as when you found out you accidentally deleted your Tumblr?
Oh my God, did I do that? I did. Yeah, that was really. How did you really find that out? Yeah, I just
Because you were talking about Drag Race, your Tumblr was actually what you helped use with like a lot of your online friends to help
yeah.
round up votes for the casting. Because like season 5, they were trying to get people voted.
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
people on.
So I was doing everything, yeah, and I had this like group of Tumblr friends that I had transferred from my Twitter friends. Because when I first started on Twitter, my goal was to hang out with other people on Twitter and try and make like one-liners and do jokes in like 140 characters or less. So I was trying to do that, and so I got introduced to this community of people on Twitter and then through Tumblr of all sort of walks of life, and it was interesting to get to know these people, especially a lot of them were straight people. And for me, being like a guarded gay who was always sitting at the lunch table by himself, now I was able to be invited to that lunch table of the straights and find out what their life is like. And they're like, "Oh, this is so cool. You're actually like real sort of people, except you do all that gross stuff in the bedroom." And so it was interesting, and like there was a lot of people behind the Twitter avatar that I got to learn and realize that like they're real people. Some of them were like fun, like moms and all that kind of stuff or whatever. And
It's like telling
yeah,
me you actually made like genuine connections, even
yeah.
going to like tweet ups in like Florida and
I know
stuff.
I
And
did. I went to a tweet up, which was a gathering of people and stuff from Tumblr. I was going on a gay cruise, and so it just so happened that they were doing a tweet up in the same city. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to meet a bunch of strangers off the internet. What's the worst that could happen?
in drag at that
Yeah,
too.
in drag, because I thought like also being in drag gives you like a mask, and you feel comfortable and you feel sort of protected, a little guarded in a way. And plus some of the boys that I was meeting were very sexy, and I thought, this old girl still got it.
But like I said, with the season 5, they did like voting to get some people on, and let's say you were kind of campaigning, and a lot of your Tumblr friends were rallying votes for you. And
Sorry, I just sometimes I drool. I get a little excited. I was trying to. Oh, sorry. Okay.
but despite your best efforts, you didn't make it on season 5. You eventually got the dreaded "thanks but no thanks" email. Like, how devastated were you? Because, like you said, you were really trying to get on the previous seasons, but season 5 was when you really were trying to make the go at it.
Yeah, I said like, I wasn't really devastated. I thought like, you know what? I'm on their radar. They're noticing me. So who knows? It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before that happens. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I made a few videos to be like, oh, thank you so much for voting for me. I think I made one of me crying in the shower. It's fine. But it's all about fun and having fun with it and stuff, and not taking life too seriously. And because getting on RuPaul's Drag Race is winning the lottery. Not everybody gets that opportunity, especially to do it like twice. So it was amazing to do so well. To go from like the greatest season of Drag Race to like the worst season of All Stars. I mean,
Some people like it.
some people like it. Yeah, Candy loves it. She thinks it's amazing. She's woo.
There's at least one person on that season that said, "Oh wow."
Yeah.
So,
Oh wow. Yeah. Jimbo. Yeah, Jimbo likes it too. Yeah.
But on your initial season, you didn't have the best fan reaction. You had a lot of negativity
Oh
post
my
show.
God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Even outside of like the fat phobia, like
Yeah.
there was just a lot of negativity from like
Yeah.
a lot of the fans.
I think some of the producers were like, "Wow, we thought it would be a little bad, but we didn't realize it was going to be that bad."
Yeah.
So whenever I did see like Misha and Jacqueline out, they'd be like, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, I'm good. I'm fine. It's TV. It's not real. I know that, that's the thing too. It's like people are picking on the outside. They're not picking on the inside. I know what's on the inside. I know who I am as a person. So don't worry about it. And people are like, oh, you fucking bitch. I'm like, look, if I wanted to hear that, I'd go back at home to my parents.
But with the passage of time, like people started to come around and
Yeah.
became more of like one of the revered figures in Drag Race, and obviously with people having all the calls, wanting you to be on All Stars.
Right.
When did you start to notice the shift in like the audience's sentiment towards you?
I think it's with every season of Drag Race where they sort of let people peek behind the curtain, whether it's intentional or not, where they're like, oh, wow, okay, now we see how it really is. Like, we as a viewer aren't so fooled by what you're putting together as piecing a show together for entertainment purposes. RuPaul's Drag Race is not a documentary, it's an entertainment program. And I think as time goes on, people really get to see like how heavy production can have a hand in it or not have a hand in it. So, they were completely laissez-faire with us, or blase-da, or
Blase-da,
blase-da, yeah.
But with the positive reputation that you accrued with the fan base and having a good run on your initial season, why did you want to go back to All Stars? What were you hoping to show people?
I think really to show people like that you can still do this. Like dreams do not have an expiration date. You can continue to do these things into your late 30s, like I am, and so and and then also to show or showcase where I was lacking before, especially like the fashion and stuff, and be like, look, I can do this too, and not just to show other people, to show myself.
Yeah,
because I never.
That's why you wore a $20 T-shirt on the runway.
You got it. Absolutely, it's fantastic. They charge me more than $20 to do that.
Oh,
but yeah, I know.
You have a coupon? You're like a couponer.
No, I know. Yeah. I am a couponer. I do it. Yeah, I love a deal. I love a bargain. I don't care. I like to save money. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, well, that's the last question I have for you.
Yes.
Is it true that you once accidentally took money for sex?
I did that. Yes, I did that accidentally. It was complete accident. Here's the story. So, me and Pandora were out in Buffalo, New York, and so we were performing and all that stuff. I was in drag, and there was this guy who was hitting on me. He was like, "Oh, you're gorgeous," or whatever. I'm like, "Hey, thank you." He's like, "Come home with me." I'm like, "No, I drove." He's like, "No, I'll drive you home." I'm like, "I live in Rochester, New York. It's like an hour away." He's like, "No, I'll drive you home. I'll drive you home." And so Pandora's like, "Go, go, go." And she's a good influence on me too. She's like, "Go get that dick, girl." And I was like, "Okay." So I went home with him, but he's like, "Oh, I got to stop somewhere real fast or whatever." I'm like, "Okay." He got a bag of cocaine, and I didn't do cocaine, so he was doing all of it himself. And then he's like, yeah, after we had sex and everything, like, he had coke dick, so I was like, all right, I'm in my top era. And so we had sex, we had fun, all that stuff, or whatever. He's like, I'm too messed up to drive you home. I'm like, I still have to get home. So he's like, I'll pay for a cab. So he gave me a few $100s and was like, this is good enough. Mm-hmm. So I took the cab money and went back to the bar, and I called Pandora and I was like, can you come get me? And she's like, I just got home. So she turned around, and so then I gave her $100 and I was like, don't tell anybody. So then she told everybody.
Yeah, you got your 150 American, 50 Canadian, right?
Yes, I did. That was a good time. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because he didn't have enough American cash on him, but he had some Canadian. And back then, Canadian dollar was strong.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that lovely anecdote, that is the end of our time today and the last of my cards. But before you go, I wanted to give you a gift.
Oh.
Give you a taste of home, so you don't have to wait for the next.
My God.
Speedy Fest to come around.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. How do you like that?
Speedy sauce.
Where did you find it? It's almost like you can buy anything on the internet these days. This is great. This is going right in my purse.
Yeah. So I know like, with the food, Vegas has some good eats, but they don't have speedy sauce. So
no. There are, I should have brought you some country sweet sauce as well. I'm gonna write down your address and mail you some.
See, I'm from Arkansas. It's like a lot of like Southern food and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff from the North. I'm sure that I'm missing out on.
There are a lot of things
like we've got a hot dog, like
garbage plate.
Garbage plates. I don't know what that is, but
this is amazing.
Where else?
It's great on chicken. It's great on chicken.
Great on chicken.
Yeah. Also, wonderful as a douche. Today I used a coffee enema. I should have cooled the coffee down. I'm medium rare, but I'm wide awake.
not as pink in the middle. Just cook through.
I am sous vide to the perfect 98 degrees.
What is sous vide?
Sous vide is when you cook things in a water bath. Oh my God.
Oh, see, one things.
I watch Top Chef as well. I enjoy reality TV.
There's a show called Top Chef. You're like, I'm a top.
I am. I know. I love it.
They finally a chef show made for me.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite seasons of Top Chef was right in the eve, one of the first few things or whatever. And he's like, "I'm not your bitch, bitch." I was like, "Yes, sound bites."
Well, as I said, that is the last of our time we have today. But Darienne, what do you have coming up? Do you have any shows happening?
I have
Your social
nothing.
media?
I have nothing going on at all. Please help me. Please send me money on Venmo or PayPal or Cash App even. I've lowered myself to even accept PayPal. So I've got nothing going on. No, I will be traveling as you know, as a girl does. Please follow me on Instagram because I don't have that many followers because I keep blocking them. She ate. I'm like, oh, fat joke. Oh, so yeah, yeah. Follow me and stuff, and and tell me what you want me to post and whatever content you want because I'm here to please as many people as I possibly can.
She'll do whatever she needs to. Just let her know, please.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a cry for help.
It really is. It really is. So thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in and staying all the way through the end.
Yeah, this is going to be the end because this is your farewell show, right?
This is it. Yes, this is going to be,
hurrah.
yeah, as they say, like, this was her last taped interview. Before she snapped,
Yeah.
just like her bra, snapped. Yep, that's the thing. That's why I'm named after an amusement park, because the amusement park actually uses my old underwire for their roller coasters. So you know it's sturdy.
Not sturdy enough because of the one guy, but yeah, anyway, whatever. Yeah. But so you can find her online at Darienne Lake.
Yeah.
And you can find me right here on the YouTube channel. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and join us next time whenever we have somebody else.
Yeah,
And yeah, till then.
they'll be my favorite guest.
Oh yeah. But yeah, till then. Bye guys.
Fuck off. That would be great if RuPaul ended her show with "Beat it, skank."
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.